Hi, welcome at Dutch and welcome at the Orange Talks. My name is Peggy, and today I'm in the studio together with my colleague Karin. Karin,
Hello, Peggy.
good to see you in our studio of the Orange Talks. And this time we're going to talk about COP30 and beyond, everything that is around sustainability. And for this, we have today in the studio, we have a very special guest coming from CCarbon and the University of São Paulo. CCarbon is a world-class research center, very specialized on carbon research in the tropical agribusiness sector. Now, they not only bring knowledge, innovation, and technology, but they also bring really relevant solutions for the world of food production and agri-sector in general. So happy to have with us Professor Carlos Cerri.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this opportunity, for inviting me to talk about such an important issue.
It is certainly a very important issue, Professor. I would like to ask you to start this conversation with us, telling a little bit about the importance of CCarbon and other research centers that study carbon in agriculture, but mainly CCarbon.
Thank you for this question. CCarbon stands for Center of Carbon Research in Tropical Agriculture. So this center has the main goal is to develop innovative solutions and strategies on carbon-based sustainable tropical agriculture. Those are to adapt and mitigate climate change, and at the end of the day, of course, to help to improve living standards and conditions of the society. Together with some institutions from Brazil and abroad, we are putting together a team of more than 70 researchers to, at the ultimate goal, to reduce emissions from the agricultural sector in Brazil, but not only reducing emission, but also removing, sequestering carbon in the vegetation and soil in the agricultural sector.
Well, I think, Professor, indeed, the agribusiness has big challenges, and we're here in Brazil. I mean, and this is obviously what they call the food bank of the world, right? I mean, Brazil is supposed to provide the world of the food to the whole world and increasing for the coming years. How would you see the role of Brazil playing in this agriculture sector, and then with an eye also on sustainability?
Brazil, in my opinion, has a key role worldwide. Why? We have now the challenge to increase food production. You probably know FAO document report mentioning that the entire globe needs to improve 20% of the food production. But this is not happening in some countries. Actually, some countries are reducing the food production. So, Brazil supposedly has to produce 40% increase in food production for this increased demand of population. And all this challenge is also more complicated because we now have climate change. So we have different edapoclimatic conditions, temperatures, precipitation that we are not used to, and we have to produce more food, fiber, biofuels, and so on. So the only way to do that is applying sustainable management practices. So conservative agricultural practices are key in this condition. Otherwise, we are not going to be able to achieve those challenges.
So that means, Professor, sorry to interrupt here, but does that mean that we need to invest even more in technology, innovation in the agri sector to achieve this target? What you said, we need to increase drastically the food production in general. Where does the solution come from, in your opinion? Is that from innovation, technology?
Exactly, Peggy. It's the combination of research, innovation, technology, but something that is very important is to have innovation, but also to expand existing agricultural practice, conservative agricultural practice, to a larger and larger space in the area of cultivation of at least in the main crops. And for that, I don't see institutions working separately. I think we have to join our efforts, the private sector, the public sector. The problem is too complicated, so we have to get together in order to find better solutions.
That's great. Professor Cerri already mentioned a little bit of what I was going to ask next, which is the main challenges that we need to overcome in having Brazil as a leader in the sustainable agricultural sector. So you mentioned, Professor, first, the need to work together, private sector, public sector, researchers. Besides this big challenge, what else do you see it's necessary for Brazil to be a leader in the green economy, in sustainable agriculture?
First of all, in my opinion, Brazil is already a leader on that. That's my opinion, but we need to go further. And so I would include another element, a key institution, together with those that you mentioned, which is the government. So we need to have more and more public policies to incentivize producers, ranchers, agricultures to implement the existing regenerative agricultural practice and to fund research to develop new techniques, new tools to help us in this challenge.
A bit, Professor, is that lacking a bit, the funds? Because this is obviously always a very interesting debate, right? Where does the money come from? Who is going to invest? Is that also one of the challenges that you see, that we don't have this kind of money available to make the further step?
I think we need further investments. At CCarbon, we are fortunate to receive fundings from FAPESP. So is the São Paulo State Funding Agency. But this is not happening in other states. So I think we need not only from the Brazilian government, the federal government, state government, but also initiatives from other countries. The problem is not related to a single place, but is in the entire globe. So we need to have international collaborations and efforts to overcome this challenging problem.
Mm. And maybe also Dutch organizations and Dutch companies we can step into this, right?
So, Peggy, I think it's super interesting that we are joining in this podcast series. We're joining important companies, researchers, government representatives to discuss and to present what the key issues are in climate change mitigation and the efforts that need to be addressed in the time that we're living. So, very proud of Dutcham in this sense.
Yeah. Well, indeed, it's, I think, our purpose to bring, everybody together here, and especially, Professor, I mean, all eyes are on Belém, right, on the COP. I mean, in that regard, I mean, how do you see this COP30 as an opportunity of encouraging, let's say, these investments and on research, for example, on carbon in the agriculture? How important is this COP for you, you think, in this domain?
So, Peggy, this is a very important opportunity in this COP30 to be held here in Brazil, Belém do Pará, because it's an opportunity to address, to include in the agenda what is called nature-based solutions, including, of course, agriculture, as you said, carbon in this context. Because in the previous COPs, I would say in the last 4 or 5 COPs, we didn't have the opportunity to talk about this. Those copies were located in places where the economy is basically based on fossil fuel burning. And now, here in Brazil, we had the opportunity to include in the agenda restoration of native conservation and the native vegetation, avoiding deforestation, of course, and the agricultural sector. That in the other COPs, they were marginals, not deep discussion. So I think now it's the opportunity we have.
It's an opportunity, but I think, Karen, we agree it's also a big challenge because a lot is going on around the COP and we have some obstacles as well, even logistically speaking. So let's hope that we have a lot of Dutch companies also coming this way and support the agenda of the COP30. Professor, what kind of message would you give to the outside world in regards of the COP? Because it looks like everybody is getting a little bit stressed on this COP, but what is the message that you would like to give, to investors, to companies? What should they take out of this COP for you?
I agree with you. I am feeling the same. But I think the challenge that we are facing globally is even more difficult than the infrastructure and the logistics related to this COP. So it's unfortunate that we are facing that, but we have to make additional efforts to participate in the copy, but also in the pre-copy and post-copy events. If you are not going to Belém for any reason, there are many side events that you can take part. The ultimate goal is to find ways to implement soil, plant, animal, atmosphere connections and enhancing the resilience of natural ecosystems and agricultural areas, because the world needs more food without further deforestation, without greenhouse gas emissions in such a large rate. Today 73% of the greenhouse gas emissions come from fossil fuel burning, and 20% from the agricultural sector. So we know, but we have technology.
While we know as well now, Karen, a professor, I think that everybody is always looking at the agricultural business and pinpointing a little bit the responsibilities over there. But indeed, I think you put it in the right proportion, right? I mean, there is a role that agriculture plays, but it's not the biggest role. But obviously, we need to find more solutions for the future. And you're going to Belém, right, Professor?
Yes, I'm going to Belém as I did in the last copies, uh, with the hope that we can discuss, of course, but more than discuss, put into action. I think we are discussing too much worldwide and acting in a slower rate as we should. We do have time.
Motto. Yeah, this is the COP's motto, to act now, right?
Mhm.
Mutirão is the word in Portuguese. Indeed, more action, less discussion. We've discussed a lot. Now we need to implement solutions for sure.
Exactly. It's in our hands because we have the solutions, the tools, we know how to do. We need to implement those.
Exactly. Well, very challenging period coming up here in Brazil. Thank you, Professor, for your giving your insight. I think that was really valuable. Karen, I think we're more or less already better prepared for the COP, right?
Certainly, and we hope to hear from the professor and CCarbon after the COP as well, to see what went on, in following November, and hopefully we have good results after that.
I understood that, Professor, as an invitation, to talk again after the COP and see what kind of actions we can put into place. But thanking you already for this meeting with us, for being with us at the Orange Talks, and let's get tuned after the COP, because obviously the job that we have to do on sustainability, it doesn't stop with a COP. It starts maybe at the COP, so it's time for action. So wish you all the best in Belém, and let's talk soon.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to take part of this conversation. Very pleasant. So thank you very much. And yes, the invitation is accepted. let's keep talking. Thank you very much.
Okay, great. And hope to see you live then that time in the studio here with us in Sao Paulo. Thank you guys for following us on this COP Connected, because as I said, stay tuned with Dutcham, and then you stay tuned as well with all the things around the COP and beyond. So thank you for listening to us and watching us this time, and see you next time, Karin, because I think we have more people on our studio coming up soon.
Very interesting conversations are coming up.
Exactly. So stay tuned with Dutcham. See you soon. Bye.